Welcome to PUKE, where I try and figure things out and do the things that I don't want to do but have to do. Today we're going to look at my wife's '08 Acura TL. She says that it's not heating properly, and as far as like the heat in the car during the winter, kind of comes on and off. So there's a few things that it could be. Low antifreeze, air bubbles in the cooling system. It could be the thermostat, either stuck open or stuck closed, or the heat controller, the heater controller that allows the coolant to go through the heat packs to heat up the cabin. So we're going to look at this today and see. Basically, you kind of want to start with the easy stuff first and move to the harder stuff. So if I take the information that I get from the car, the temp gauge is about in the middle where it should be. So I don't think that that's a thermostat issue. If the thermostat was stuck open, the heat level would stay at cold because the coolant's just running through the engine freely and not doing what it's supposed to. If it's stuck closed, we would have overheating issues, which we don't. So I don't think that it's the thermostat. And she does get heat while she's driving. It kind of goes on and off though. So that leads me more to believe that it might be low coolant. She does have a teeny bit of a leak on the overflow tube, and I'm not sure exactly where that is, if it's cracked on the plastic or if the tube is just bad. We'll look at that and see, but I think it's just low coolant. So that's what we're going to start with today and see how far we get. All right, so the issue with the car, like I said, I don't think it's the thermostat or the heater controller. Thermostat is this guy right, well, it's inside this housing right here, down here. So you've got these little bolts on here, probably like a 8 or a 10 mil bolt. There's probably 3 of them. I'm not gonna crack into that at the moment, just because I don't think that's what the issue is, but that's where the thermostat is on this car. And it, like I said, if it was staying that cold on the temp gauge inside the car, it would probably be the thermostat, or if it was overheating, it could be the thermostat. The other thing I mentioned is the heater controller, which connects to this wire right here. Goes down to this little guy here, and it opens and closes this valve to allow coolant to go into the heater coil that actually heats up the car in the cabin. And like I said, she gets heat, so I don't think it's that, or it's kind of an intermittent heat. I'm pointing more towards coolant level, it being low, and maybe even having air bubbles in the system. So we're going to go ahead and bleed that out and see if that doesn't take care of our problem. So this is a good thing to have if you're doing stuff with the coolant. It's a funnel kit. It comes with a bunch of attachments in it, a little plug, so that you can bleed the system and get all the air out of the coolant system without getting coolant everywhere on the engine or in your garage on the floor. I got this at AutoZone. It's not that expensive. I'm sure you can get them on Amazon as well, but it's a good thing to have if you're ever doing anything with your coolant system. This little toolkit comes with all the adapters for all the different makes and models of cars just about that you can think of. So good tool to have. All right, so I've got my bleeder kit for antifreeze here on the car. I've got the antifreeze for the car. And basically we're just gonna fill this up. It's gonna put antifreeze into the radiator down here and also into this bucket. We're gonna have a little bit up. And we're gonna start the car and run it, let it get to operating temperature, and as the antifreeze pumps through the system, any air bubbles that are trapped will come up through here and out in here, and it will be replaced with antifreeze so that there's no air bubbles in the system and it can run efficiently. One little trick that I will share with you guys real quick is you have your antifreeze bottle here, and it has the safety tab and this little lock, so you can't open it unless you push in that safety tab. So you push that in and turn it, and you can open it. Well, now you've got this tin foil thing here. You can stab it with a screwdriver and rip it out, but a cool little trick is this little tab. Actually, if you push it on here, you can actually just push it through the foil like this and run it around. And it's a little bit difficult with one hand because I don't want to knock this thing over, but you just push it around and it opens it right up, and you pull out your tin foil cover and you've got access to pour now your antifreeze. So we're gonna go ahead and dump this in. Another good thing about this funnel is that you don't have to be super accurate and all of that with your antifreeze pour. If you do pour antifreeze or any oil or anything, if you tip it sideways, it seems to run better. So that's not bubbling up very much anymore, so we're probably pretty full. But if I squeeze this hose right here, you can see that some air bubbles come out. So we're going to give it just a little bit more antifreeze here. I'm going to fill it up to about there, and then we're going to go ahead and start the car and let it run and get up to operating temperature. So when it gets back up to operating temperature, I'll show you what it's doing. So I'll be back in just a minute. Alright, so this is started. It's not up to operating temperature yet, but I just wanted to show you this. You can see it kind of shakes and vibrates a little bit, and every once in a while air bubbles will pop out of there even while we're just heating up. But as that heats up, the thermostat down here, once it gets to operating temperature, will open up and will start to flow through the pipe up into here. And since this is the high point of the radiator right here, the air bubbles will come out and go in here and get replaced with the fluid. So you just let it run, let it idle until all of that air bubbles stop coming out. And it can take several minutes for that to happen, 10-15 minutes sometimes, but you just let it go until it stops bubbling. So we've got temp is low still, hasn't heated up yet, but when you do this to put the fluid in, even if it's hot and in the summer, it's not right now, but you want to turn your heat on high and then turn the fan all the way on, and as the car heats up, we'll allow that heater controller to open up and allow the coolant to come in to the car, and it'll flush the full system and not just the engine part of it. You want to get the air bubbles out of the heater coil that's behind the dash here, and so running heat on full blast while you're placing your coolant or adding more coolant because it's low, and flush out the full system. Safety tip while you're working on your car: if you have to run the engine, make sure your garage door is open so that you don't die, because you don't the fumes coming out of there and just be trapped in the garage with you, because then you won't be able to breathe and you will die, and that won't be fun. So make sure you leave the garage door open so you have plenty of ventilation. All right, so we're getting pretty close to operating temperature. Not quite there, but we're almost there. And as we start to get to operating temperature, you might see that this level goes up. It's just actually the system getting air bubbles to the right spot. It'll push the fluid up, it'll rise a little bit, and then air bubbles will come out and it'll drop back down. Depending on how empty your coolant is, or how low it was and how much air you have in there, keep your jug handy and close by, so that as the coolant gets sucked out of here down into the system, you can just quickly add some more so you don't run out, so you don't introduce more air into the system that you're trying to get out. So once it gets to operating temperature and the thermostat opens up, it'll start sucking in coolant once the air bubbles start moving out. So have your coolant ready so you can dump some in if you need to, so they don't suck more air into the system that you're trying to get out of the system. So getting some air bubbles out. You can see it bubbling. That means that the thermostat has opened up and it's starting to move the coolant around, and some air bubbles are coming out, so that's good. You give this little upper tube a squeeze, and that's just coolant going through there, but there's an air bubble right there. So the air's coming out of the system. Just let it run like this so we don't see any more air coming out, and then we close it up and we should be good. Alright, so the system seems to be blowing hot now, and I don't see any more air bubbles coming out of our system, so we're going to go ahead and close this up, and we'll see how it does, and I might be back doing some more stuff after some test drives and things like that. Okay, so we've bled the system of air, and now we've got this whole thing full of fluid, and if we pull it out, it's just going to run all over the place. So that's where this kit comes in handy. It's got this little plug, and just shove it down in there, and this will spill a little bit of coolant when you take it out, but not as much as the whole thing. Just pull it out so it has a little bit of coolant that drips out. Not a big deal. Now you can put that coolant right back into the bottle, or you can put it into your overflow, since this one's low, and pull this cork out a little bit. And with one hand it's difficult. There we go. And you can fill up your overflow tank to the max there, and then plug it back up. Pull this out, put it into your bottle, and pull the plug, and that goes right back into the bottle. And it's not all over the floor, and it's not all over the car, and you just stick your tube back in, screw that lid on, take off the adapter for the kit like that, set that aside, and then put on your cap, and you're done. So thanks for watching this episode of PUKE, and I'm sure we'll be back soon with some more.